country of Brazil. I wanted to take you all around with me a little bit today since I don't do a lot of kind of vlogging style stuff. Hope everyone is having a beautiful, what is today? Tuesday, coming up on the so-called holidays, wondering how things are going for everyone. Um, this holiday season, as I know, there was all that craziness with not getting SNAP benefits for a lot of people, for those who are using them. And I know that probably impacted groceries for the month and everything. Just wondering what folks are up to, if people are actually trying to get into the holiday spirit, or if they were really boycotting, like I heard, because I heard a lot of black folk, not black folk, but melanated folk are looking to boycott these holidays, which I think is a fantastic idea. So yeah, just interested. Peace, whoever is on. Can you hear me? Just let me know if you can hear me, because I have these tricky little mics that work when they want to work. But yeah, so we are out here. It is a busy Tuesday. I'm in the fourth largest city in the world, Sao Paulo, and I'm loving it. Despite it being a gigantic city, it's actually really chill here, really fun, relaxing, stimulating. But then you can go chill back in the house and just be at peace, really. So it's a great city for just giving you all the things, you know. I'm very, very pleased with it. Um, so I wanted to take you along with me as like a day in the life. I don't know if I'll be filming for that long, but you know how I be popping on and off. But just to show you a little bit of where I live. Um, so I am in a neighborhood that's considered like the nicest neighborhood pretty much in Sao Paulo. Reason being is because it is like a little art enclave, a creative enclave with lots of really interesting businesses, lots of great shopping, you know, places where you can get organic food, lots of kind of vegetarian restaurants, galleries, and just a lot to offer, you know. And so here's the loudness. So people really kind of love this area of the city. It's very safe. I've never had even anything like an issue out here. And you can just walk everywhere. You just walk and you just get some of the best energy, you know, that you can get in the city, because you're also getting, you know, trees, and every once in a while you'll walk into a pocket of a forest, like a bush jungle type of vibe that they kept intact. Because remember, Brazil is a tropical country. So the whole country is tropical, even though it might get a little cooler when you go down south, but it's still a tropical country. So we're constantly getting warm weather coming in. You're still going to have your tropical plants. You're still going to have a lot of the tropic energy going on. Like, this is an overcast day. Yesterday it was like 90 degrees. You know, you just kind of never really know though here in Sao Paulo, because the weather can be quite changeable, but not in a way that you would hate it, because um, it just gives you a cool down, you know. So for instance, yesterday it was 90. Today it's like in the 70s, still quite warm, very comfortable, but you know, not overpowering and too hot like it can be. Um, it is a pretty dry heat location. Excuse me, I had to get across. It's a dry heat location. So sometimes we get some humidity, but mostly the heat is kind of dry, which I love. Sao Paulo is up on a mountaintop, so I think we're about, shit, I want to say 3,000 miles above sea level. It's up high. It's considered, what do they call that? A mountain ridge. I forget what they call it, but yeah, we're up. And so when we want to go to the beach, which is the nearest beach, is about an hour from here, we end up coming down and going down into the beach area. Um, Here, like for instance, over here on the weekend, all you see is businesses open here that have either live music, they have live jazz, live rock, live samba. You know, it's all just businesses right now. Everything's obviously closed down when it comes to that kind of thing. But here you'll find all kinds of kids. There's a honey shop at the end of the corner that's all like organic honeys and local honey. So if you're someone who especially deals with honey in a medicinal way, you know, you have all these options at the shop. You have your head shops. You have um, Lots of really cute boutiques. So all of that here in just this neighborhood. Like we have like the pick of the litter, like anything and everything you want to find or get, you can pretty much find on this block. Down the street from here, we even have like an Indian little enclave where it's like shops with Indian attire and goods and singing bowls and all kinds of incenses and stuff like that. So one of the wonderful things that I love about Sao Paulo is that it's giving very international, which is kind of unusual for Brazil. Brazil is very insular in a type of way. So, you know, when you go to other regions of Brazil, you'll get really, really caught up in like just Brazilian culture because there really won't be as much of everything else. You might find, like if you go south of here, there's a lot of Argentinians. If you go up north, you might find a few of some different people. But here in Sao Paulo, everybody's here. So we get the international life. We're not just stuck in one thing, which works for me because I like a very cosmopolitan city because I get bored and I like to switch it up. And I have, like me and my daughter, we're really into Latin dance. We like a lot of different things. And so we can get all of that here. You feel me? So that is wonderful. So right now, this little area here is really cute too. You can't tell because obviously it's business hours and working time, but there's a lot of little businesses here that do live music. This whole street from up that way all the way down over here on the weekend from Thursday, I'd say, to Sunday is nothing but businesses open with different live musicians performing and samba and activities and people just vibing out, you know what I mean? So it is very interesting. Another thing that you'll find coming to Sao Paulo in particular is just a lot of street art. This place is just known for street art and it gets really elaborate. Like this isn't like an example of the elaborate street art, but I mean whole entire skyscraper buildings with like beautiful images of sisters, indigenous women, Afro indigenous women, whatever you want to call it. You're going to see all kinds of ode to Black women on all the buildings, to indigenous women. I mean, it's just such a colorful city. You'll particularly see that when you're on the highways. So when you're on the highway, on the freeway, that's when you'll see the elaborate artwork. It's freaking just off the chain. Here's the Indian shop. Again, this is just my hood. I just decided to bring y'all along. Where I'm going right now is to a mail pickup facility because I get a lot of mail at my house, but I also like to have it sent to a mail pickup facility, especially if it's something that I don't want to be running around trying to figure out if I missed the delivery for it. So I am walking down. So our Amazon, and I don't know if they have this in the States because I have not lived in the States for many years, but here we have something called Mercado Libre, which is found in different Latin countries, and they call it Mercado Libre in like Mexico, right? And so it's it's a marketplace like Amazon. And I use Amazon Brazil too, but I prefer Mercado Libre. I can find pretty much everything I need on there. So they have their pickup centers if you don't want something sent to your house, right? For whatever reason. So that's where I'm headed now, and then on and on to some other spots. But yeah, my day to day here is just easily and casually just being able to walk everywhere I want to go pretty much. And if I can't walk it very easily, I jump on the train and I get there in 10 minutes. Sometimes I have to Uber around, but I prefer not to. One, even though Uber is pretty much dirt cheap here, but I prefer not to Uber just because, the most walking I can do and everything, the better, right? So this is a little busy area. So around here, if we were to keep walking up this direction, which I'm not, we would see an area called Beco do Batman. And that is an area where it's all of the arts and crafts and the crafts people and the artists and everybody, all the graffiti, the different galleries and stuff like that are up there in a huge alleyway. That's what a beku is. And so in that alleyway is just nothing but the most beautiful paintings and muraling you'll see. Really gorgeous stuff. I've been over there before on live. I know if you guys have been with me, you have seen Beku de Bachman. And it's really fun. There's always live music and people dancing, hanging out, breweries, wine, different things, jazz going on in the gallery. So it's a lot of that. When you deal with Brazil, you're dealing with a lot of enrichment, no matter where you're at, but especially here in Sao Paulo, it's a lot of enrichment. It's a lot of being out in the street with people. So a lot of festivals, a lot of outdoor shopping. People, when you come through on a weekend, you'll walk by different bars and eateries and places, and people will literally be sitting out on the sidewalk in lawn chairs. They literally they are really big into lawn chairs here. So there people will just be in lawn chairs out on the street. Like it's just a vibe. If you're someone that likes to be stimulated, you know what I'm saying? You like to be, activated by interaction and culture and people and talking to folks and chit chatting and dancing and singing because everybody dances here. Everybody's into music here. It's like almost everyone. You'll barely meet a Brazilian that don't want to dance, don't want to do some creative, doesn't like to go to live music and participate. So that is just the culture. And for a lot of us who aren't used to um, that level of interactive culture and expression, Brazil can be overwhelming, but to most who come here, they absolutely love it, right? So and this is why I've been coming back and forth for 25 years. So I'm gonna buzz in. I'm not gonna get off. I'm gonna go in here and get my package, but give me a second, y'all, because I gotta let this lady skew or scan something. You guys can still see me. I don't want to lose you. It's going to take me like a minute to get scanned in. But yeah, so Brazil is also a country that is very kind of up to date technologically. Give me 1 second, please. Like everywhere you go is QR codes and scanning you. Things are really up to date here. I don't know why people have it in their head like this is some kind of so-called third world country, which is a silly term anyway. But it really isn't. We are, things go very smoothly here. Obrigada. Um, things are very up to date. People are really just kind of um, doing things with ease mostly because that's sister's beautiful natural hair. That's another thing you'll see here in Brazil a lot. Is just people with, like, the sisters are very proud, very beautiful. They rock their naturals, they rock their afros, and they do it even if they've got 4C hair. It's not like anything to be shy or timid about. Um, Now, one of the interesting things about the city that I live in, Sao Paulo, again, and I've said this many times, but this is the case. This is a city with um, 12 million people in the kind of city center area, and then another 10 on the outskirts. So it's a very large city, and people are really and it's really quite like different in that a lot of the people that look like us, brown folk, melanated folk, they don't necessarily live in the city center. They have been pushed out. So, for sure, there's a colonial history here, right? And so the Portuguese, when they was ramshacking, going all over, trying to take over every damn thing, on top of the indigenous people that were here, they were also, you know, very much utilizing brown and black folk for labor and enslavement and all kinds of stuff was going on. And so when they were done utilizing them for the coffee, when they had the big ass coffee boom down here in Sao Paulo, they kind of just started to move the darker brown folks, the melanated folk, out to the outskirts. So a lot of them live in what we call the periferia. Periferia is the word. Periferia is really hard to say. The periphery. And so it's so strange when you're here in Sao Paulo, you'll see, and it's like a lot of, because Brazil is a very brown country. It's a very, very so-called black country, right? And so, but when you're in the city center here, where the 12 million are at, you would think, oh, it's pretty white out here. I mean, we're out here, but it ain't like I thought it would be. But then once you leave the city center and go into the periphery, then you see a whole nother thing, okay? Whole other thing. This city is huge. The whole outskirts of it, talking millions upon millions, is like favelas and what they call quebradas and working class communities, and but brown, very colored. And so, and with lots of arts and craft and culture and groups and organizations that's working with youth, and just a lot of activity, you know, out there in the periphery. So, you know, while we're here, and we're definitely here in the center of the city, particularly those who are working, because a lot of them come and work in town and then they commute back out. But yeah, that's the truth of this area. But, you know, despite that kind of solemn history, knowing that, you know, gentrification has impacted this area so much, it's still very cool. I still have never had it, even anything that even felt like a racial run-in in Brazil myself, and I done been up and down. I just have never had that experience here. I also am foreign, so you're not as likely to have that experience as a foreign black person, right? But at the end of the day, for sure, Brazil is somewhere where you can have a certain level of ease. And again, especially as a foreign person, because in Brazil, they always say that, you know, money and wealth and, you know, just any kind of capacity financially whitens you in a certain type of way. So they're really into this concept, or they used to really be into a concept back in the day called brancamento, where it was all about, you know, mixing, race mixing, and all this kind of stuff so that they could lighten the race. So, you know, all of that is some foul shit. You know, nothing that anyone would be happy to know about here, but they also, because of how mixed everything is, there's a lot of kind of peace overall, at least on the surface of society. So, you know, it's not the same experience you would have in the US. I mean, in the US, the worst places for me, and I've lived all over the US. You know, everybody talks about the South. The South, I never had any bad experiences in the South. My worst experiences were by far in California and in New Jersey. That's where the real racist ass pigs is at. And so I mean, some of the locations, but America is detestable, honestly. I never want to live there again if I could help it, right? So yeah, um, that is the reality of that. Is that, hey, good morning. Oh, hi, good to see you. Yeah, I've just been kind of cruising. I'm kind of in the busy, kind of crazy area where I really need to put my phone down, but I definitely had just wanted to chit chat a little bit and show y'all my daily movements. Hope you can hear me okay. I try to put my little mic on to mute some of this excessive noise. But yeah, I was just talking a little bit about Brancamento out here in Brazil, and how, you know, whiteness has always kind of been cherished in a certain type of way, and with that as superior. So it has impacted the way society has kind of set itself up, but it's still like really quite, you know, like a peaceful place, at least on the surface. I can't say that for those who are from here, who have been, you know, having to deal with all of the disparity that is really gigantic in this country. But as a foreign brown person, I can say that it is probably one of the most peaceful places you can come. You know, as long as you got some capacity and some money. But yeah, they don't. The local people, and it's still, it might not be the most outright racist place, but you know, there is just a major disparity that really impacts the lives of the local brown folk who, you know, for many years were laborers. You know, some say slaves, laborers. You know, and were just being utilized just for their physical ability. So it's real janky in that way out here. But at the end of the day, you can still have like a very quality. You know, you don't want to check out from the reality of the colonial history, but you can still have a very good quality of life here and still be treated. There's a high level of humanity that I experience here in Brazil that I don't feel in other places. What's the deal with the visas? Oh, that's a great question, Just Humble. So the visas, they just this year started re-implementing, because they're doing the tit for tat thing with the U.S. right now. Started re-implementing visa travel, so you will have to get a tourist visa. That is done digitally. I believe it's $90 US and $80 to $90. It's supposed to be pretty easily, pretty seamless, done online. But yeah, that's what it is. And that will allow you to stay here for 3 months. And then I believe they make you renew it for three if you want to stay an extra 3 months. So you get 6 months flat in Brazil. There's no border crossing. You can't go to Argentina and come back. It's none of that. You get your 6 months max, and you leave, and then you can come back in 6 months. So that is Brazil, and there's a lot of people in our expat communities that live like that. I don't. I have a residency here, and there's a lot of different pathways to residency. But there's also another option for people who are maybe looking to do like a staycation. They want to stay a while. Maybe they know they might want to stay a little more than 6 months. With that being the case, you have the option of the digital nomad visa, which is relatively new. And that visa actually has worked out quite well for people that I know. You get 1 year and then you can renew for another year. Okay, so that is another option. But overall, they make it pretty easy for you to be here. I'm very grateful to be a resident though, because I really don't have. I'm not like a traveler. Like I like to be up in flights and planes and packing and going over here and over there. I do not care about traveling like that. So I like to just come somewhere and ground down, and I'm able to do that here. Yeah, 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 I'm a resident. Hmm. So, so yeah, and then again, there's multiple pathways to residency here, mostly via investment for excuse all the noise, investment, purchasing property, things like that. So yeah, what else? There's so much to talk about. Yeah, so I just wanted to show you guys. So this area here, I'm about to go into this little health food store here to see if they have a certain supplement I'm looking for. But if they don't, I'm gonna have to go down to the bougie area to this extremely expensive supplement store that I don't want to go to. But I need some good high grade protein powder, and looking for some curcumin, because I need some curcumin extract and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm on my way to do that. But ask me any questions too if you have any more questions. Why are you laughing, Just Humble? Yes, honey. So, what else was I going to say about this glorious city? I mean, it's just amazing because I told y'all before I came here, I was living in the Virgin Islands for many years. And then even during the pandemic, though, we spent a year and a half in Brazil still. So we've been bouncing all over the place. We were living in the Virgin Islands on and off for about, maybe 8 years. The pandemic hit. We left. We came to Brazil. We stayed a while. We then went to Costa Rica. We ended up back in the Virgin Islands for a year. And then I was like, yeah, nope, can't do it. And we're back here, right? So I am looking at Brazil though and keeping my eyes open because though it's the only place I want to be in the world. It's a lot going on up above in Venezuela. That is impacting not only the Caribbean and Trinidad and that area, but could bleed down and affect us because Brazil is a BRICS nation. It's BRICS, and if Venezuela is being fortified by some of the other BRICS nations, Big C and Big R, then if that pop off, which I don't know if it will, because we know how the press is in the U.S. You never know what he's going to do. But if things pop off in the way they seem to be setting it up, I don't know if Brazil's going to get dragged into that mess or what, and how that will impact things. So I am very geopolitically conscientious and conscious because I'm not trying to get caught up in no mess. So if I have to shift around, I will. But Brazil, there's nowhere I would rather be, period. And I've lived in Africa. I've lived a few times. Lived on different islands from the Pacific to the Caribbean. Lived in Europe, different places. It's just like nowhere. Central America is just nowhere else. So I'm hoping we won't get dragged into that mess. Brazil is a very peaceable country. It never really beefed with people on no major level outside of little border skirmishing, little border issues with Venezuela and different places, but not a war. And to be honest with you, I don't know how up to date and up on all of the way they're doing warfare now with drones and stuff like that. I don't know how up to date they would be on any of that kind of stuff out here. Because it's just not, they don't have that leaning towards that kind of engagement or interaction. So we gonna see what happens. But I'm watching closely, y'all. But for now, everything looks clear and clean, and it's business as usual. We're just getting ready to go into that next new year. Réveillon is what they call the new year here. Getting ready for that, and then we go into Carnival season and Carnival prep again. And that's just kind of like the Brazil cycle, and the cycle when you live in, kind of some of these tropical countries. Every year is kind of set up in certain quarters, and it's all about kind of surrounds when Carnival's coming. It's always kind of planning for that season to come in. But yeah, this is, a place that I would highly suggest people at least come and check out. I'll tell you the truth. I have never known anyone to come to Brazil and not actually just want to stay after they get here, even if they thought they were just coming on a little visit for a couple of weeks or whatever. It's not somewhere you leave. When I lived in Salvador back in 2002, I was up north, extremely fun. I was a young, childless woman, having a ball, right? And everyone I knew around there, from everyone. They was from Nigeria, Jamaica, from the Caribbean, different parts of Japan. I meet British people. There was people from all over the world living up in Salvador back then. Because you go there to practice capoeira. You go there to get into the candomblé culture. You go there to just experience Afro-Brazilian culture, and everyone was so thoroughly enthralled with that place that I'm talking about hundreds of people would be there, and no one would leave. Like the 6 month marker would come, and everybody would just be overstaying visas left and right. It's just Brazil is just like that. You just don't want to leave. Carnival will be in out here. It's in early March. You're going to Panama for Christmas. Okay, you're excited about Panama. That's wonderful. Now I haven't made it there. Of course, I've lived in Costa Rica, but I didn't do Panama. My dad grew up there partly, and I have like family background in Panama, but I haven't made it. Um, and to be like I said, I mean, there's just nowhere that calls me really. I think the only parts of the world that I would be drawn to go into or that I'm called to at this point would be like in Asia. I definitely want to check out Thailand and Bali. I would say those are probably the only parts of the world that even call my attention, but I still don't think I'll even bother trying to do that anytime soon. I just like you just get so content here. I have to like not get stagnant because you be so content here. It's a very contented place, and here in Sao Paulo we have a lovely, wonderful expat community. We're real chill. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing, but we all collaborate a lot. Everybody's artsy and creative, so we do a lot of collaborative stuff, business stuff together. Our families were doing a Friendsgiving on Sunday this week, and yeah, you're on your Vietnam track. That's dope that you found it. Yeah, I totally found my place. I've been known this was a place forever. Vietnam has been sounding pretty cool. I know that the Yarbros are out there, and they're some of my favorite YouTubers in terms of the travel scene. And I didn't get to watch their newest video about it, but I'm excited to see. I want to see what they have to say because the last thing they were talking about is how they have fallen in love with Malaysia. And so Malaysia is kind of on my bucket list. I have a girlfriend who raised her family of, she had 7 kids and she raised them in Malaysia. So, they spent about 14, 15 years in Malaysia. And so I do have a curiosity about all of those regions. But yeah, so now I guess they're in Vietnam. For me, those kind of things would be hard. Anywhere I would have to go where it's like not like some kind of Afro-Indigenous black kind of culture as standing out is probably not going to keep my attention. So that's hard for me, but I will definitely go for a visit. I think I would like it. I have family members that are married to Filipinos, to Laotians. My family real very into marrying outside and other races and stuff like that. It's that Cali thing. So, well, we're not from Cali, but yeah, I don't know why. But yeah, so I have a lot of married in family. My stepmom was Filipino. So I'm definitely interested in Southeast Asia and parts of Asia for sure. But yeah, unfortunately, my lovely phone is starting to give out on me pretty soon here. But yeah, Just Humble, I always appreciate you coming on, asking me such interesting questions. I hope you have a great time for Christmas. I will be right. I might go to Bahia for Christmas, or we might just go stay down at the water because they have some amazing beaches, even in the state of Sao Paulo. People think Sao Paulo is like cooler and colder. It is cooler and colder down here, but not most of the year it's hot. And we have these amazing, like, crystal clear beaches, like, just not even far from our city. So it's such a blessing. So I might just go stay down on the water and chill with my kids for the Christmas holidays, but we'll see. We were gonna go up to Bahia. But yeah, just taking it simple. It's really hard for me to leave my city because I love it so much, but and I'm so content, you know. It's like I don't really care, but Brazil just has so much amazingness to see that I definitely want to get down there. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. Wonderful. Well, you have a wonderful day because it looks like you're the only one on. And I will be back on. I'm gonna try it. I want to start doing longer videos and really stay in it. I have been on a push to try to get monetized, and I was getting so close. And then monetization. I mean, the watch hour thing is just so tricky and weird. And so it's always like you'll get like some momentum with your watch hours, and then it'll fall back, and it's just a really challenging thing. And I've been on this app for a long time. I'm like, I think it's about time we figure out this, monetization piece, or at least it'll give me more to push harder and get my content all the way organized. So we're pushing for that. So please, y'all, if you do check this video out, just drop a like, drop a comment, something like that. Help us out. It's rough out here in these YouTube streets, okay? Have a beautiful day.